for me, nothing used to when I was a kid would hold more enjoyment than the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Why? I have no idea. But it was those tunnels. My grandmother's family lived in Pittsburgh. And we would go out maybe 2 or 3 times a year. And, maybe if we fell asleep, my mom would have to wake us up before we go through the tunnel. I don't know why. Those tunnels are terrible. But from my memory, there used to be 6 tunnels. But I think there are now 4. But when you get to the 4th one, you're probably about an hour away from Pittsburgh, an hour and a half. And so there are signposts. And then the last big exit before you get to the Pittsburgh exits, New Stanton. You get that the whole way down the line. You have in your mind, okay, you don't have to ask, are we there yet? Because you kind of had a clue. Okay, there's the last rest stop that we could go into. You knew where you were going down the turnpike before you got to Pittsburgh. You didn't have to ask, are we close? Are we there? Well, in today's gospel, Jesus tells us that we cannot ask, are we close? Are we close to the end time? Because we don't know. He tells us, don't worry about when it will be. Just be ready for that hour. The people that Luke was writing to at this point had expected that Jesus would already have come again. And this was what? 40 years after Jesus died? 30 years? They thought, okay, things are so bad right now, Jesus is going to come back. And so they were starting to get a little, well, if he hasn't come by now, is he going to come at all? Why do we expect that he's coming in our lifetime? Is it because we have a pandemic now? How many pandemics have there been in the history of the church? Is it because the government doesn't like us now? How many times has the government not liked Christians in the history of Christianity? Do we think the martyrs thought that Jesus was coming back in his time? When Nero and Diocletian and all the Roman emperors were putting every Christian to death. Why do we think we're different now? But that doesn't mean we should get lazy and not expect him to come back at all. Because whether he comes in our lifetimes or not, each one of us will have an end of this world and our lives. And we don't know when that day is coming. Are we prepared? Many people will tell us they know when the end of the world is coming, or they know the signs. They are fools. However, we are fools if we are not prepared each and every day for that day to come. Not because of what's going on in the world, but that we know that at one time, and in 1 minute, at 1 hour, at any hour, we may be called home. And whether we get home or not depends on if we're ready. Jesus doesn't waste his breath talking about this stuff unless it's true. So let's not waste our time. If we have something on our souls we need to get off, let's go to confession. Let's receive our Lord as much as we can so that our venial sins can be wiped away. So we don't have to worry about knowing when or where, because we can't. We can't possibly know. All we know is we will have peace in our hearts if we are prepared. And so, brothers and sisters, let's run to be prepared so that we can meet our Lord at that day or hour, whenever it is, so that we may be with him forever. Please stand.